لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه وأعوذ به من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد والثناء لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما سيدي ومولاي بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم. Condolences to all of you on these days and these nights where we have come together to commemorate the shahadat of our master Abi Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of this holy Imam, for the sake of this holy personality, for the sake of these holy nights, may He accept this form of ibadat, may He accept this form of zikr from all of us. And inshallah make it a source for us to get closer to Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad and get closer to Himself with the barakat of salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. So yesterday we talked about Karbala, the two sides. Karbala and I, the two sides. We were talking about that there's two different ways that a person can take that journey back towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The subtopic for today is Karbala and I intrinsically intertwined. And what we would like to talk about today is that form of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where in the Quran He talks about it in many places, that everything that He's created, then He's guided it to the right path. Not just humans, everything. And that guidance, that hidayah, that the word that's used in the Quran is different for different things. For the plants, right? Do you have to tell the plant how to grow? No, it grows by itself. Do you have to tell the animal how to grow? No, it grows by itself. Do you have to teach the animal how to go find its food? No, it goes and finds it himself. Do you have to teach your child how to grow taller? No, they grow by themselves. Do you have to teach your child or yourself how to breathe? No, you know it by yourself. So there's a lot of things where the Quran talks about that Allah created everything and then guided it towards the right direction so it can reach its kamal, so it can reach its perfection, so it can reach that point, that status, that level that it was created for. One of the differences with the creation of man is that there's two aspects to the hidayat or the guidance of mankind, unique to mankind. One is obviously the natural sort of guidance, just like everyone else, just like everything else, right? We talked about you grow, you breathe, you this, you that. You don't have any control over it. It just automatically happens. So that's one path where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is naturally, or takwinan, if you will, guided us towards that ultimate. The other path, though, of guidance is that the path of Sharia. And this is where it connects to our discussion from yesterday, that growth and that guidance associates with our soul and not our body. The more I take that guidance, The more I take that guidance, the more I would be able to elevate my soul. And there's so many of these messages beautifully mentioned in the Quran, that if a person spends their time, spends their life with the Quran, may Allah give me first and foremost and all of us the tawfiq to be able to do that, inshallah. In the second surah of the Quran, right? Surah Al-Hamd is the first one, surah number 2, surah Baqarah. Right there, right at the start. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This is the book that there's no doubt in. هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is a form of guidance for the muttaqeen. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Who are the muttaqeen? This, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verse number 2 is saying that this is a book that's a form of guidance for the muttaqeen. And then he starts defining the muttaqeen. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those who believe in the ghaib, in the unseen. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. They establish the prayer. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And whatever we have blessed them with, they do infaq from that. And then the next one talks about وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. I'm just going through this quickly because this is not the point that I want to make. Over here he says, and they believe in what was sent to you, O Prophet, and what was sent to you, the prophets before you. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. And they have yaqeen. They have certainty in the akhirah. And then, this is the interesting part. أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ. And they are the ones who are on the path of guidance from their Rabb, from their Lord. Remember where we started off? That this is a book that's a form of guidance for the muttaqeen. It's a guidance for the muttaqeen, and later it says those are the people who are on the path of guidance. So the guidance is for the guided. How does that make sense? So what about a misguided person like me? No guidance in the Quran for me? Right, it's right there in the second page of the Quran. Right there in the second page of the Quran. What the ulama, what the mufassirin, what Allama Tabatabai and other commentators of the Quran, they say is the guidance and the misguidance is a two-step process. The guidance that he's talking about later, where he's defining the muttaqeen, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ. These are the people who are already on the path of guidance from their Rabb. This guidance at the most basic level is the guidance of the fitrah. Are these things that are intrinsically in me, innately part of my nature, innately part of who I am. Whether it's this willingness to, worship something, whether it's curiosity that then leads to questions, leads to, and so on and so forth. Inshallah, if we get time, we'll get into the details of it. But this is an interesting point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, listen, I've already given you a basis. I've already given you the foundation by instilling that nature within you, by instilling that fitrah within you. If you follow it, then you will get to the point where you enter the muttaqeen. Then you will enter a point where the Quran will start becoming a form of guidance for you. Form of guidance for you. What does that mean? And at higher levels, it can also mean that whatever I know, if I act upon that, then the Quran will open up for me. The Quran's not going to waste its words over me. The same Quran that is a form of guidance. In another place it says that it does not increase the dhalimin or the kuffar illa khasara. The same book of guidance that is a form of guidance for the muttaqeen is a form of misguidance for those who have turned away from their fitrah. Those who the things that they know this is wajib, they know this is mustahab, they know this is what will get me to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they don't give it any importance. They don't give it any importance. I think it's narrated through Ayatollah Bahjat, but from Allama Qazi. Ayatollah Bahjat was a student of Allama Qazi. If you ever get the blessing of being in Qom, Ayatollah Bahjat, rahmatullah alayh, is buried very close to the Zari of Hazrat Masuma Qom. If you ever get the opportunity and the blessing to visit Najaf, then Allama Qazi is buried in Wadi Salam, not too far away from the Haram. Definitely worth the visit. Definitely worth the visit. There's a lot of blessings in it. He narrates from his teacher that he used to say that if a person recites their namaz, recites their salat, awwalul waqt, and they don't reach the highest of levels, they can do lanat on me. Not on me, on him. I don't know if I should say this from the minbar, but that's crazy. A person like Allama Qazi is saying that how much conviction must he have in this? How much conviction? Is there anyone in this room who doesn't know, and first and foremost to myself, that how much emphasis there is in Islam on Salat Awwal al-Waqt? So I'm not doing this, but I want the heavens to open up for me. I want the angels to descend upon me. I went to the Majlis 10 days, nothing happened. I went for ziyarah, nothing happened. The angels that you talk about, I don't know how many thousands of angels are doing tawaf around Karbala, nothing happened. Yeah, because I'm not acting according to what I already know. I'm not going to be able to take that next step. So guidance at the most basic level is in the fitrah. The misguidance is also similar. On the next page of the same surah, so just the third page of the Quran, في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا, that they have a maraz in their hearts, they have a sickness in their hearts. فزادهم الله مرضا, and then Allah increases that maraz for them. What is this maraz? What is the sickness in their heart? That they defy the direction that fitrah tries to push them in. They defy that. They turn away from it. So every single person has that fitrah. Fitrah by definition means something that's intrinsically a part of who we are. It's part of us. It's part of our innate nature. Everyone has that. So the question might be, if everyone has that, why do I not feel like that fitrah is shining through? That whenever I'm at the wrong place or at the wrong time, that I don't wake up and the fitrah doesn't shine and doesn't pull me towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Two parts to this answer. One is, how many times did the fitrah shine through, but I ignored it? Walking down the street, my eyes fallen upon something that I'm not supposed to look at. I know it's wrong, but at that moment, I ignore it. I go to a place in a gathering where people are backbiting. I know it's wrong, but I don't find the courage to say anything. I'm hanging out with my friends and they're doing the wrong things, but I'm embarrassed to walk away. The fitrah is there. The fitrah is there. I'm ignoring it. And then the second part of the answer is that what that leads to, yes, the fitrah will always be there, but what slowly happens is dust starts collecting over this fitrah. Every time I ignore it, a layer of dust comes. And I do it again, another layer of dust comes. Then another, until they become the first layer of veils. And then the second layer, and then the third layer, and then the fourth layer. This fitrah is still there, deep down in there somewhere. But it can't shine through anymore because I've put so many veils over it. By ignoring the fitrah, by defying the fitrah, by defying my nature, by going against what I know I should do. So if I'm at this point, God forbid, it's not the case that, there's no turning back. Yes, there is a turning back. Of course there's a turning back. Shaitan will try to tell you and I that there's no turning back. That I made this mistake, how can I ever turn back? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it doesn't matter what you did, you still come back to me. Ayatollah Jawad Maliki Tabrizi, one of the teachers of Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhima, may Allah bless them both. I believe it's him, one of these scholars in their books. They say that the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so much that even if a person had killed 70,000 prophets, they would not lose hope in the forgiveness and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When's the last time you guys killed a prophet? No, not yet? Alhamdulillah. So why do we so easily lose hope? Why do we so easily give up? When we understand that the reason, the purpose that I was created for was to get all the way up there. All the way up there. So these things I need to realize are within me. If you look at Surah Rum, which is Surah number 30, verse number 30. So this should be easy to remember. 30. You got that? Okay. فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. So turn your face towards. Allama Tabatabai says, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ over here means turn towards without any distractions. No going left, no going right. With full focus, with full concentration, with being zoomed in. فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ. So turn your face towards. فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. Turn yourself towards the deen. The pure deen. In a balanced way. And then this is where it gets really interesting. فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. The verse continues. What is it saying? Turn towards the deen. Turn towards this ideology. Turn towards this religion. And then without a comma, without a colon, without any punctuation, it says فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. With the help or which is aligned with the fitrah. With the fitrah. فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. The way Allah created you and I is with this fitrah. The way Allah created you and I is to turn towards this deen. The way Allah created you and I is to turn towards these values. The way Allah created you and I is to worship a higher being. Now sometimes what happens is I don't get my eyesight checked. And that higher being becomes money, becomes position, becomes fame, becomes fashion, becomes this, becomes that. Is there anyone who doesn't have something that they have their eyes set on. This is what I want to achieve. This is what drives me. This is what pushes me. This is what I want to achieve. Is there anyone in the world that doesn't have that? Even if that thing might be peace in their own definition. Right? You might say, yeah, I know a lot of people who don't want to get up in the morning and get to work and study hard or this or that or whatever. That's because in their mind that higher being is that peace or that rest perhaps. But there's something that is important to them. There's something that's important to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is something that's intrinsically part of you and I. It's this is how humans work. They work towards something. If there was no hope, if there was no purpose, if there was no nothing, if there was no love to, continue living and doing this and doing that, would life actually continue? And that is why, as time goes on, you see that mankind, the holy man, because of all these distractions, because of all this facade, because of where this Western ideology, this Western philosophy, this Western culture is taking us towards. Right? When I say Western ideology, Western culture, Western philosophy, I'm not just talking about geographically the West. Because this ideology, unfortunately, has seeped into the rest of the world as well. It's probably not as strong as it is in the West, but it's still there. It's still there. Right? As you see that this culture and this philosophy, and if you go back in time and you read about after the Renaissance and what happened in Europe and how the changes happened and where did Western philosophy start coming out from and what was the ideology that they were pushing and what was the philosophy that they were pushing, you will see seeds of this facade, of this evil, of this corruption that you see in society laid back then. So as this culture is becoming more prominent, as this philosophy is spreading, you see, what do you see in this world? You see that the suicide rates are increasing, you see that the divorce rates are increasing, you see that this is increasing and that is increasing. Why is that the case? Because this is taking you away from the fitrah. The fitrah that Allah instilled within you and I is pulling us towards Allah. And this philosophy is telling us there is no supernatural power. Whatever there is what you hear, what you see, what you feel, and that's it. Whatever you can sense is what's there. There is no higher being. Right? There is no higher being. It's kind of like, actually, don't worry about that. Just had a salawat this. Yeah, sometimes I forget that I'm, in a public place. I just start talking as if, you're all my best friends. So it's good that I control myself. فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ. And there's no change in this. There's no change in this. It doesn't matter if you were there 1400 years ago in Karbala. It doesn't matter if you're 1400 years later in the east or the west or the north or the south. Every single human being that has been created, لا تبديل في الخلق الله. Everyone's been created with the same fitrah. If that fitrah was shining through for the people in Karbala, then know that you as well have that fitrah. You as well have that intrinsic nature to follow those things. Unless, God forbid, that the dust and the dust and the veil, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إنه ليغان على قلبي فإني لأستغفر الله ربي في كل يوم 70 مرة. That sometimes what happens, this holy prophet, can you believe that? He is saying, إِنَّهُ لَيُغَانُ عَلَى قَلْبِي. That sometimes I feel like there's some rust on the heart, coming or about to come. فَإِنِّي لَأَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ رَبِّي فِي كُلِّ يَوْمٍ 70 مرة. What do you do, O Holy Prophet, to cure that? I do istighfar to my Lord, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to avoid that, to protect my fitrah, to protect my heart. 70 times I do istighfar every day. If the Prophet is doing it 70 times, how many times should I do it? It probably won't even fit in your calculator. It's the Prophet. I want to be like the Prophet. I want to be like the grandson of the Prophet. I want to be a companion of the grandson of the Prophet. But I just don't want to do what the Prophet did. I just don't want to do what Amir al-Mu'mineen did. I just don't want to make that effort. It's not going to work out. It does not add up. أَمْ حَسِبَ الَّذِينَ اجْتَرَحُوا السَّيِّئَاتِ أَن نَجْعَلَهُمْ كَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Do the people, this is the Quran, they're asking me and you, do you really think that the people who do all these sayyat, the people who have all these shortcomings, the people who do all this evil, أَن نَجْعَلَهُمْ كَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, that we will make them just like the people who have iman and who do good action? سَوَاءٌ مَحْيَاهُمْ وَمَمَاتُهُمْ, that their life and their death will be the same? سَاءَ مَا يَحْكُمُونَ. What a bad judgment you all make. What a bad judgment you all make. It's the Quran, brothers and sisters. This is the Quran that's supposed to be a guidance for me. This is the Quran that has the power to wake me up from this slumber, from this negligence, from this ghafla. But I don't touch the Quran. Best case scenario, when I'm driving, I just put the Quran on, which is good. But it's not enough. Especially for us. Most of us don't understand what it's saying. Right? That's why we go for those reciters that at least it's got a beat. It's nice and smooth. It really puts my kids to sleep. Which is really nice. Thank you. Beautiful. It's better than putting white sound or waterfalls or whatever. So it's better. But the Quran was sent for a little more than that. A little more than just putting your child to sleep. A little more than just having to put something in your car while you're driving to work or driving back to work, which is good. I'm not saying it's not good, but there's more to it. I can be doing that for the last 40 years and not have learned a single lesson from the Quran because I don't know what it's saying. Inshallah, it's the case that the barakah of just listening to it will get me there, will give me the tawfiq. But is that what I want to bet on? When I have the Quran at home, when I have the translation at home, when I can read the tafsir, when I can attend the classes to understand the Quran, to build a relationship with the Quran, to take the Quran as hudan lil muttaqeen. Amir al-Mu'mineen keeps talking about it. That listen, whatever issues you have, the answer is in the Quran. Whatever illnesses you have, the cure is in the Quran. So over here, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to tell you and I, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. Listen, your purpose, don't forget your purpose. Your purpose is not what you've busied yourself in this world. The hayat al-dunya, the Quran keeps talking about, it's lahu wa la'ib. It's nothing but diversion and play. This is taking you away from the purpose that you were created for. This is taking you away from that. This is not the purpose. Understand what the purpose is. Spend time thinking about that. Try to change your life. The Quran is begging you and I Try to change your life. Try to change it in a way that you start, that I will actually walk out of this masjid alive. That I will actually reach home alive. That I will actually wake up tomorrow alive. Why do I think that? Even if you said, okay, there's a 70, 80% chance that that will happen. The 20 is scary enough. The 20 is scary enough. And that is why the life of the Prophet, the way he lived his life, the way the Ma'sumin lived their life, all these mustahabat that usually we don't have time for, right? They're planted, they're set in the right place at the right time to ensure that you and I don't fall off the path. The Holy Prophet in the morning, Alhamdulillahi alladhi ahyani ba'da an amatani wa ba'athani min marqadi walau sha'a ja'alahu sarmada. I praise that is waking up in the morning, right? He's not like me. He's not thinking 80, he's thinking 20. That's why when he wakes up, he says, Alhamdulillahi alladhi ahyani ba'da an amatani. Praise be to that Lord who gave me life after giving me death. The Quran talks about how the sleep is very similar to the death. Anyways, side note. وَبَعَثَنِي مِن مَرْقَدِي. And he raised me from my marqad. From my marqad. وَلَوْ شَاءَ. Whereas if he would have willed, جَعَلَهُ سَرْمَدًا. He would have made it eternal for me. This is a person who's connected to the Quran. Every single morning, he's thinking about this. And therefore, he lives his life ensuring that the fitrah is not being covered by the veils. He doesn't take any day for granted. This is what he's trying to teach you and I. This is what Karbala is trying to teach you and I. It's trying to wake up that fitrah within us. That fitrah within us. Innately, you and I, whether we've collected that dust or we've collected those veils, I don't know. But innately, you and I stand up, would like to stand up for justice. Right? Imagine. I'm sure nothing like that happens, in a holy place like a center. But imagine two people started having a fist fight in here. And you see that a person goes and punches the other person. Right? You as a bystander. Either you've, I'd say I've become so whitewashed that I've become so, these isms have taken over my life, this individualism has taken over my life, that I say, what's got to do with me? A punched B, I better see my way out. What does that have to do with me? But you can't lie to yourself, you definitely would feel guilty. Why did you hit him? Right? So innately, you and I like justice, especially if it's for us, right? Especially for us. But it's there. It's part of your value system. You can't change that. You can't change that. But sometimes it's my lack of courage. Sometimes it's my lack of understanding that I'm not able to go and stand up for what's right. I feel it inside. I feel it inside that what just happened is wrong. But I don't have the courage to stand up for it. But there are some people who do. So when Hussein sees what's going on in the ummah, He says, I'm leaving, but I'm not leaving for any personal purpose. I'm not leaving for any personal gain. I'm not leaving for any of this. The reason I'm standing is لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي. I want to reform this stuff. Justice has gone out the window. Equality has gone out the window. Islam has gone out the window. The values of Islam, no one's practicing them anymore. So it's a stance for justice. It's a stance against oppression. It's a stance against corruption. And this is something that is within us. It's within us. If I today cannot find myself standing up for the brothers and sisters in Palestine, then I should know that either it's dust or it's veils. Either it's dust or, God forbid, it's veils. Why is it the case? Why is it the case that when you hear the Masa'ib of Karbala, right, you just automatically start crying? It's because of the intensity of the Masa'ib, along with, yes, that it was Hussein. But even if it wasn't Hussein, no one can see or hear those Masa'ib without their heart trembling. And it's proven now when you watch these videos of what's going on, the atrocities, the heinous crimes that are going on. I don't know if Muslims do or not, but I know non-Muslims, people have nothing to do with Islam, they watch this stuff and they cry. Because it's an innate part of their nature. Maybe. Right? Don't use this as, don't quote anywhere. But maybe part of the reason why when Muhammad ibn Hanafiya told Imam Hussein, okay, if you're going, then why everyone else? And he says, Qala Rasulullah, my grandfather told me, Inna Allah qad sha'a an yarahunna sabaya. That Allah has willed to see the daughter of Ali taken captive. The daughter of Hussein taken captive. The women of the Ahlul Bayt taken captive. That partly, Ali Asghar. Right? How can you wrap your mind around that? What does that mean? Perhaps, the reason why these things happened the way they happened, the reason why Allah wanted it to happen like this, the reason why Hussein submitted to the will of Allah, is to be able to wake up those fitras, is to be able to wake up those in deep slumber, those in the ghafla, those in negligence, those in oblivion, that listen. And I don't know how much you've read, but if you read history, you will read about people who are the worst names that you've heard in Karbala. Even they cried. Even they cried. But then what did they do? فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ فَزَادَهُمَ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. They ignored that. They turned their eye away from it. And therefore Allah increased them in their sickness. And then there's the other side as well. Right? Hur. We talked about Hur. That Imam Hussein talks about Hur's mother. And he says, I cannot talk about your mother like that. Because your mother is Zahra. He understands the azmat, the grandeur of Sayyida Salamullah alayha. And then he follows his fitrah. He doesn't turn away from it, such that on the day of Ashura, he ends up on the right side. And he gives his life in the lap of Abi Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam. Haniyan lahu. Is there anyone over here who would like to give their life in the laps of their Imam? In the arms of the 12th Imam? Anyone? Would anyone like that? How about after 5 minutes? Yeah? Ready? Ready? I don't know. Right? Did Hud have a choice? Imam, I'm with you, but let's wait till next Muharram. 62 Hijri, I'm all with you. I'm going to be there. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. There were people like that who came to the Imam and said, I actually need to go home real quick because my wife and kids are home. I didn't tell them where I was going. But guess what? You can take my horse. It's really good. Really, really good. You can take my sword. Really good. What did Imam Hussein say? I don't want your sword. I don't want your horse. Or nowadays, I don't want your horsepower. I don't care about what you drive. I want your heart. I want your heart. I want your fitrah. Is that with me? If it is, then congratulations. Let's take this journey together. Let's take this journey together. So understanding, brothers and sisters, that the values that we see manifested in Karbala so beautifully, a lot of them, if not all of them, are intrinsically part of our fitrah. And this is perhaps one of the tests, what's going on, this genocide that's going on. That am I able to shine through? Am I worried about my citizenship being taken away, my status being taken away, my this being taken away, my life being taken away? Or no, I can stand where I need to stand. I'm not saying, start running around like headless chickens. Okay, let's go do this. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not for that. But where, that's why I said, where the need is, am I able to stand up over there? If the Imam tells me next 5 minutes, am I ready for that? Or do I still need to pay my khums for 5 years, and I still need to be my namaz for 20 years, and I still need to do my fast for 15 years? Of course, if I have those, then I won't feel comfortable going forward. But what gives me that confidence that I will wake up tomorrow? And this is why a huge, huge portion of the Quran keeps talking about Ma'ad, keeps talking about Qiyamah, keeps trying to tell you and me, Kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Listen, repeat it if you need to, write it in your car if you need to, do something, whatever you need to. The Quran is trying to tell you and I, but remember this reality. Because it will come by baghtatan, as the Quran says, all of a sudden. That is why the teachers of akhlaq, the teachers of spirituality, they recommend that everyone go to the graveyard. And I'm sure it's part of our culture as well to go to the graveyard, but not go to the graveyard, to put those rose petals and put the rose water and put the agarbatti and all of that. That's okay. Go ahead, do all that. Do all that. That's fine. What they say is spare a few minutes for yourself, by yourself, in the graveyard, so you can look at the grave of your grandfathers, you can look at the grave of your fathers, you can look at the grave of your mother, your grandmother, your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter, and think about that till yesterday, till a month ago, till 2 years ago, till 5 years ago, they used to be walking around just like you and I. And now, they're gone. And it's not like they're gone, like they don't exist anymore. It's not like they don't exist anymore, but their account has been closed. Today there is amal and no hisab. But tomorrow there's hisab, but no amal. And none of us, no matter how cool we are, no matter how far-sighted we are, no matter how many 20-year plans we have, none of us know when the time will come. None of us know when the time will come. And then there's people like the people in Karbala. They knew when the time was. And they got more and more excited. They got happier. They got brighter. It's in the maqtal that the face of Abi Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam, as the day of Ashura went on, became brighter and brighter and brighter. Why would it not? 60 odd years he's been waiting for this moment, for the liqa'ullah. This is what inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un means. That journey back to Allah. It doesn't mean death only. It doesn't mean death only. It means that journey back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the people who came to Karbala knew that and were pursuing that journey and were excited that it was just the home stretch for them. Home stretch for them. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Sayyidi. ويا مولاي صلى الله عليك يا أيها المظلوم. One of the names of Zainab is Ummul Masayib. Ummul Masayib. When Zainab was born and the Prophet was holding her, Jibreel came down and told him about the masa'ib that Zainab will face. The Prophet started crying and said that whoever cries over this noble lady has the same reward as someone who cries over Hussein. Look at the masa'ib that Zainab has faced. She was a 4 or 5-year-old girl, just like Sakina. But Zainab in her own house sees her mother crushed between the wall and the door. Zainab sees her father being pulled by the rope. Zainab sees her brother Hassan's coffin being attacked by arrows. And now Zainab has nothing left, has no one left other than Hussein. Hussein is her last hope. Hussein. Perhaps that is why on the day of Ashura, when Zainab sees that the Ashab are going, they're going one by one, and now it's the time of Bani Hashim, and every time she hears her brother's voice, Hal min nasirin yansuruni, Is there anyone who will help me? Her heart must have burned. Her heart must have torn into pieces every time she hears the desperation in his voice. But then there was a time on the day that she takes her two sons, On and Muhammad. Zainab can't see Hussein anymore. She takes On and Muhammad, takes their swords, changes them into new clothes, and takes them to their master, Hussein. Oh my dear brother Hussein, will you please let me sacrifice these two small sacrifices from me? The narration says that Imam Hussein refused, and he refused again, and they kept insisting. Imam al-Hussein says, no Zainab, I can't do this. What will Ja'far say? What will Abdullah ibn Ja'far say? This is his right. She says, no, no Hussein, this is not how it is. When I was leaving Medina and I went to Abdullah, he told me that, listen Zainab, if you're going with your brother, then make sure you take my sacrifices with you. Oh Zainab, take On and Muhammad with you. But Zainab, make sure that it doesn't come a point that Hussein's sons have been gone to the battlefield and my sons stay back. Finally, On and Muhammad, they get their permission from the master. They start moving towards the battlefield and they fight like lions. Their grandfather is Ja'far ibn Tayyar, and their other grandfather is Amirul Mu'mineen. On goes to the battlefield announcing himself, if you don't know me, then know I'm Ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar. I'm the son of Ja'far al-Tayyar, who flies in the heavens, who flies in the heavens. The Maktab said that both the brothers fight it fearlessly, but there was a point when the little boys couldn't go. The Mal'oon came and severed On's head. Another Mal'oon came and severed Muhammad's head. Now that Hussein in the tents sees that On and Muhammad have fallen, some of the ulama have narrated that he quickly got to the battlefield. On in one hand, Muhammad in another hand, he's dragging the two boys back. As he gets to the tents, all the women come out to greet their soldiers, but there is one woman who's not there. Zainab is nowhere to be seen. Perhaps Zainab was scared that Hussein would be embarrassed, that, oh Hussein, I sent two such beautiful boys. I sent two such beautiful boys with you, and you bring them dragging back. Zainab was nowhere to be seen. But when it came to Ali Akbar, you see that Zainab is the first person there. The Maktab says that when Ali Akbar left this world, Zainab comes and throws herself on Ali Akbar. Throws herself on Ali Akbar. Oh my dear Ali Akbar, you've left this world. You've been relieved from the pain, and you've left your father all alone. Today is a day when we commemorate, we give pursa to the mother who never showed her motherhood in Karbala. Sallallahu alayk ya Aba Abdullah. Ala la'natullahi ala al-qawmi al-zalimin wa saya'lamu alladhina dhalamu ayya munqalibin yanqalibun.